Greetings, y'all. Kalanar here with a 3.15 Path of Exile Expedition League Start recap. There's going to be some footage in the background of me running through, I believe this is a T4 strands, just, some inconsequential map mods, but you can see that we are running with a miner as we kind of started lastly and had some information about it there. We're doing the same here. The mana cost multiplier nerfs weren't enough to dissuade us to give this a test and see how it's going. We'll get more into the specifics about how that's impacting the build, what playstyles I've changed up to sort of accommodate that while we're testing through and pushing through to yellow and red maps, and what that's going to mean for the actual endgame on a mine character. But jumping to Expedition League itself, Expedition is a pretty cool mechanic. It gets a little bit tedious when you're going through the campaign and maps, in my opinion, but logbooks are phenomenally fun. So for me, that's kind of like the perfect in-between of blight maps as well as some heist mechanics. And so I'm really digging those and, looking to do more as soon as I can get my hands on them. Now, the mobs feel a little bit overtuned, but it's still within an acceptable sort of boundary of challenge. So that's been nice. And the damage nerfs, I think, are okay where they are. There was a recent hotfix and what we're working on sort of document that GGG released not too long ago. So we're going to take a look at that in a moment. But you can see that I do have a 6-link for my Blazing Salvo that we're running through right now. It is taking up all of my mana to actually get this running, but as you'll see here soon, we do swap over to Pyroclast mines on our bosses, and that's only on a 4-link, and it does pretty well. So we can talk about the sort of differences between those two and how that's going. So first things first, what GGG is working on. So the league start was really smooth. The only thing that I really ran into was this weird graphical T-posing issue that they talk about here that they've tried a number of times to actually fix. I also ran into some assets actually becoming invisible. Nothing as bad as like Cirrus Boss meteors coming out of the air invisibly and stuff like that, but it is still kind of annoying at times. Another thing that I'll just mention here in passing is it looks like they're making some adjustments to Summon Reaper, as well as some other things that you can take a look at here and some things that they're adding in the future. But the things that I wanted to touch on were mana cost multiplier changes to extreme. Yes, they were. So we're not sure exactly what that's going to look like yet, but it'll be nice, especially as a miner, seeing some of that dialed back a little bit. Right now I'm running some mana reservation on my passive tree to kind of accommodate that a little bit. And I think whatever they do here, even if it's just 5% off of a couple support gems, it'll be enough to remove that. Hopefully we can see something happen to Blast Chain, because that going from 30 to 50% was very impactful to us as a miner. Beyond that, just wanted to touch on ailment immunity. So they're increasing the ailment immunity from flasks from 1 second to 4 seconds. Staunching will make you immune to corrupted blood if they removed it from you. Arctic armor granting freeze immunity, stuff like this. So I think that's going to feel a bit better. But overall, the movement in Path of Exile now still feels a little bit rough. So I think with the nerfs that came to Flame Dash as well as to Quicksilvers, it is still going to feel a little bit clunky, a little bit frustrating, a little bit slow. And you'll have more time moving slowly to think about how irritating that is. So it's not the most devastating thing in the world, but it's noticeable when you're just running around and trying to have fun. So we'll see what comes of that. There's definitely a getting used to it period that we're going to live through in our, our post-nerf flask world. But post-nerf mana world, we can take a look at, let me put Blazing Salvo back in here, just testing out some ball lightning. But you can see that we're running a Tremor Rod. We'll touch on this in a minute. I know that's a hot topic on the mine community, but we are running a 5-link, so we have our Blazing Salvo 6-links. Crappy gems in here right now. Inspiration, again, to help with the mana cost, as well as some crit. Fire Pen, GMP, Trap and Mine. GMP isn't necessarily something you need on here, just ignore the gem links. But you can tell that this is costing us 29 mana, and that is a little, or my apologies, the reservation is 37 mana on here. So if we try and get all of these down, you'll see we can only get up to 11, and that uses all of our mana. So it is pretty drastic of a difference from what we saw last league. So what I've actually done is I just have detonate mines on left click, so when I'm running around, this is really all I was doing in that footage you saw, and it was clearing decently enough. I don't think this is going to be the strat once we actually get to red maps, especially because we're going to need to have a 7th link on here for running Tremorod. So this is just kind of my rushing to red maps setup. And you can see that our Pyroclast mine, again, is only 4 linked. So this, however, we can get up to 19. So we do have our full layout of mines on Pyroclast, which is really helpful because that's where we need more of the damage coming in with our bossing setup. You can see that we do still have quite a bit of mana left over at the end of it, so this will also let us get to that like 6 link and still have enough mana in our mana pool. Now we'll see what happens with the mana cost multipliers to see how much that changes, if that also starts getting close or actually doesn't let us get to the full 19 on the 6 link Pyroclast, but future changes and we'll see what comes there. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is Tremorod. So starting in 3.14, this will be last patch, there was something weird that happened to Tremorod. I don't know what they did, but it feels bad. So I tried it out last league. I ended up swapping to a non-Tremorod setup, and that felt a little bit better. Now, Tremorod in this, I can't tell how different it is, but light warning, by the way. Honestly, it feels pretty fine. There's some times where there's going to be weirdness because it is still Tremorod and the double detonating, but it still does work. It feels a little bit better than it did before. Could just be my observation bias on it. So going to stick with that until I can get something better that I can upgrade into that's going to be more impactful. But this was just my standard league start setup. Note, all of my gear is terrible, so don't pay too much attention to it. We only have 3,300 life. That's obviously going to change. We are level 78 and haven't had quite as much time as I would have liked for the league start, but we're getting up to yellows and reds very soon, and we are just going to keep pushing through. I'm really liking Expedition so far. Like I said, it was a little tedious getting through the campaign, so I would say for Expedition comments, again, the logbooks are super fun. They seem to be pretty profitable, so I'm going to be looking forward to doing more of those. If you had to pick a single of the NPCs to deal with, just keep an eye out for Tujin. He can give the different types of currency, get stacked decks, fragments, stuff like that. And so that's going to be an easy, impactful thing to grab if you only want to be doing certain expeditions, not every single map. ROG has some stuff that is pretty cool. If you buy one of these items, it'll pop up the screen where you can choose to buy it and then upgrade it in some way. So it's almost like getting some harvest crafts back from specific items that you buy. You can get some pretty cool stuff there. I've got a few things that have probably made 20 or 30 chaos just from selling some of the things that I got lucky on there. So that's fun to do every now and then. Gwenin is interesting to gamble from, so you can have a chance of any of these things that have a unique associated with this base type. When you buy it, it identifies it, sort of like with a chance orb. So there's some video that Ziz released of how to get early like tabula rasas and things at level 1 and 2. So that could be something to look out for as well. But really, I'm enjoying the league so far. I'm going to keep pushing with this miner, and I am going on vacation for a couple weeks, so the channel's going to be a little bit quiet until I come back from that. But don't worry, I will have more miner videos, and I'll probably branch out into some other things, as well as how mines interact with the new skills that came out. The mechanics are interesting, but more to come on that later with the full breakdown. So I'll leave it there, and just want to say that even if I'm going on vacation, I'm still always super active in the comments, so I think the miner community needs to come together and pool some knowledge. So if you have anything that you've noticed, I'd love to hear what your experiences are with it, see how the mana costs are hitting you, and if you have any interesting workarounds. And yeah, just really keen to hear how everyone's league start's going. So catch up in the comments. I'll talk to you there, and until then, good luck on your adventures.